Today we're going to make a recipe that I've actually had on the blog for almost 2 years since I first started it. We are going to make elderberry syrup, and I want to kind of talk through some of these ingredients and how easy they are to keep shelf stable in your pantry. I have some elderberry here. They're dried elderberry, and if you keep it in a glass jar, it will stay fresh for years. So don't be afraid to buy a larger bag. We have other items like cloves, Ceylon cinnamon, rose hips, and star anise that's going to go in here. These are all pantry essential items that I keep in my pantry, in my spice cabinet, and are able to use them for years at a time. We have all of the ingredients listed below in the description and links to buy it. This is the honey that I use to make the elderberry syrup, but I actually buy this in a 12-pound bucket one time a year. So we always have fresh honey in our pantry, and it ends up saving me so much money over the course of the entire year. And then we have some fresh ginger here that will also go into the syrup. Another important thing when you're making elderberry syrup is to make sure that you're using filtered water. I'm going to use my Berkey today, but any water that has been filtered out and doesn't have chlorine in it is great. Follow along and watch the process of making this. I'll show how we strain the items and get them into the jars. All right, I wanted to talk about some of the tools that I use. You can be versatile and use other items in your kitchen, but these are the things that are most handy for me making elderberry syrup. If you like these particular items, we will link them below in the description. I have a large stock pot that I use. This is stainless steel, so it's non-reactive. I don't use my ceramic stock pots because it will stain, and I'm also very careful about my countertops when I'm making this because I don't want to get any stains on my white countertops. I just always use a silicone spoon that won't melt in the pot instead of a wooden spoon that might stain. I just don't want to stain any of my wooden spoons. So just think about that when you go to grab something to stir this up. This is a mesh strainer that I like because it fits in my bowl if I need it to go in there, and then I have a finer mesh strainer if I want to get any of the little bits out before I put it in the jar. But I will normally put this in the strainer in a large bowl as I am taking it cupful by cupful out. I never use a ladle because I am so dang short. I can't get a ladle in and out of things. So I always use measuring cups as scoops. I just want to warn you because we're all in the habit of making pasta and doing other things. Don't put your strainer in your sink and accidentally throw away all your syrup, because the things that are in your strainer are the waste. They're not the item that you want to keep. I accidentally almost did this one time making stock and it was so sad. Remember, we were trying to keep the liquid and this part is the waste. Still a little hot. If we weren't filming, I would let it cool down a little bit more. So I would wait until it's not steaming anymore. Anyways, I take this strainer out of the bowl and I set it over here in the pan. Right there, and I let it just drip out and drain for a couple minutes before I toss this. That way we're getting all the juice out of this. You can push it. Okay. So a lot of times I will do a first strain in the strainer and get the big bits of things out, and then I'll do a second time with the finer mesh strainer. It is also super important that you wait until it cools down a little bit before you add the honey. If you add honey to the hot elderberry syrup, you're going to kill off some of the beneficial properties of having the raw natural honey. Add the syrup to the jars and you can strain it again if you want to. I've already strained it twice now, so I think I'm good. I like being able to use a funnel to be able to pour into my jars. So I use the funnel so I don't splash anywhere. I like using 1.5 pint jars. They're sometimes called asparagus jars. I like using these because they fit right in my door of my refrigerator, and then we remember to take it every day during cold and flu season. The 1.5 pints is perfect size for us, and we also put it in a quart-sized jar, and then I can tuck it away in the back of the refrigerator easy. The extra ones are out of sight and out of the way, and then the one we're working on is right there in the door, and it's really handy for us. And these are really important that we use a metal lid and not a plastic lid to put in the fridge, and it'll stay fresher longer. Another thing that you can do with this elderberry syrup is, as you are using it over the next couple months, you can also make gummies out of that. And we have recipes for gummies in the blog also, which we will link in the description below. After you make them, store them in a glass jar and it'll help them stay fresher a little bit longer. They're only going to last for a couple weeks in the refrigerator. So I keep it in the syrup form and then just make gummies as I go along. This will last all season. The gummies will only last for a couple weeks, so don't make a huge batch at a time. When we store these, I'm going to store them in the fridge. We take a shot glass of this every single day, so we're not as prone to get colds and flus during the season.